Hello, citizens. This is Councillor Gian-Carlo Carra reporting for Ward 9 TV Light. Right now, we're going to talk about, I think, a really great piece of work that's come out of our coordinated safety response team. So on April 5th, I have the honor of chairing the city's Community and Protective Services Committee, and it was a really amazing day at committee because we had a number of things come forward that really established Calgary as continent leading in terms of how we do the work of running a city. I mean, just off the top of my head, and as a preview of coming attractions for future Ward 9 TV Lights, we did the Indigenous Policy Framework, which is, an amazing response to the White Goose Flying Report, which is an amazing response to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission about how we have the opportunity and the need to better interact and forge a new path forward with our Indigenous relations here in Calgary and across Canada. We also talked about the Green Line as a city-shaping exercise. But what I want to talk about today is the Coordinated Safety Response Team. So you will recall from recent news reports, there was some issues in the Riverside area of Bridgeland. There was a very bizarre and unprecedented double burning. So there's an abandoned house. That abandoned house became sort of it became a bit of a drug den, and there was some kind of altercation within that world, and people came and burnt that house down, and it freaked the neighbors out because they had been watching social disorder and criminal activity on that property start to downward spiral, and they were calling everybody they needed to call. They contacted my office, and my office brought the scan people to bear on that. They contacted, building inspections, bylaw, the police, multiple responses to this house, and then it was burned. And the fire department came in and they cordoned it off, and we thought, okay, problem solved. The problem is that later that night, whoever burnt it came back and burnt it again. And this time they burnt down the garage. And inside the garage, we discovered, a bunch of stolen material. We discovered a bunch of propane tanks, which is how the people who were living in the abandoned house were keeping themselves warm. And that fire hurt and damaged the property next to it. And at that point, people were absolutely traumatized. And, we were asking ourselves, did we miss something? Is there something we weren't doing that we needed to do? Because what we heard from every single resident was we knew this was going to happen. And of course, there's never been a double burning before, but this was an issue. And so we sat down at the Bridgeland Riverside Community Association with a bunch of the affected neighbors and all of the city staff who are responsible for the different departments who did responses. And we sort of did a debrief, and what it became very clear was that while everybody was individually doing their jobs, there was a failure to understand that everybody having to attend different issues at this property was creating sort of a critical mass of issues that we were not effectively responding to. Now, our bylaw team and all of our police department, we're not focused on bringing the hammer down on bad actors. We're focused on the idea that Calgarians, when they screw up on bylaw or when the police are called, they're not inherently bad people, and that rather than treat them like criminals or treat them like evil people, we want to educate them and make sure that they're better neighbors and that they do the right thing. And I'd say 95, 97% of the time, that works very well. The problem is for that sort of 3% super problem property or super problem individual, and even with our SCAN program, which is a provincially run safer communities and neighborhoods sheriff's action against property that sort of sidesteps the criminal code and can be very good at sort of disrupting drug houses, there's a failure to sort of fully coordinate. And so what happened was, coming out of our meeting in Bridgeland at the April 5th Community and Protective Services meeting, administration came forward and they said, okay, using a carrot works 97% of the time. 3% of the time, it doesn't work, and we have to be able to recognize when it's not working, and we have to move from carrot to stick a lot faster. And what we would like council to do, committee to do, is endorse us putting together a work plan whereby we establish thresholds for at what point, how many calls to a property to how many different departments switches us from carrot to stick mode. And once we understand what those thresholds are, we also want to understand what our response is, and we want to come back to you with that new program. And we said, thank you for being so responsive to the needs of citizens. Let's do that. The other thing I just want to let you know is that this is not something that's going to wait until we have a full policy in place. This is something that's already happening on the ground. We are coordinating, and this is really being done through the Coordinated Safety Response Team, which was set up to address specifically dope houses, illegal grow-op operations. We're taking that Coordinated Safety Response Team approach, and we're expanding their powers and we're expanding their purview to deal with all sorts of problem properties. And I think that that is a very good news story. I'm happy that there is good positive progress coming out of that bizarre double burning that occurred in Riverside, and I'm really happy that our teams at City Hall are responsive to citizen needs. So this is coming to council for sign-off on April 24th, but more importantly, that kind of work is already underway in my office, and I know that Ward 7 we've addressed some problem houses with this new coordinated response, and it's showing very well. So that's a good news story. Councillor Gian-Carlo Carra signing off.